My name's Dave Jack, and as you all know, I'm not the leader of Cheshire East. I am, however, the leader of the Cheshire Action Party and the duly elected councillor for Sandbach Town Council, representing the Town Ward. Now, we've been made aware of a number of issues going on with the Sandbach Cemetery recently, and there's a lot of myths going on. There's a lot of half-truths and half-tales about what the future plans are, who's done what, who's done historical changes of policy, so on and so forth. Well, I've been out and I've investigated, I've looked into it, and I've got some quite shocking news for people. There's two options that have happened. There's option one, that Sam Corcoran is actually right and the Tories changed policy in 2018, or there's option two, that it never happened. It was discussed, it was debated, but it never progressed to the final stage of being signed off. So I'm going to walk through those options with you, and I'm going to show you the stuff that we're going to do. When it comes to the management, the operation and the running of cemeteries, there are specific regulations that a local authority and any company involved in it have to follow. And they're actually identified on this board under the Local Authorities Cemeteries Act of 1977. That act actually specifies specific prescribed processes that have to follow for any closure, expansion, contraction, any modification and improvements. They all have to be followed by statutory prescribed law. And as things stand at this moment, there's very, very, very little evidence of any of those laws actually being followed. As we all know, Sandbach Cemetery is an historic place. It's normally well maintained and very well kept, and exceptionally well used and visited place. It has historic links to the town itself, where many generations of Sandbachians are memorialised, basically. And what the group currently in control are considering is doing away with this place. That Sandbach is no longer a place of rest. You may have lived here and worked here all your life, but they want to take this away from you. They want this to just become an old place with no future. They are blocking the people's wishes to make this a continuing facility, a continuing amenity for the people of Sandbach. And that's not good. That's certainly not what the electorate are telling me that they want. This is a place that many people hold dear in their heart. It has memories, it has loved ones, basically, that have been placed here for immortality. It's a place where we come to celebrate and remember our former and past relatives and family, children, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents. It's a place that's very, very special to the hearts of Sandbach, and it's not something that we should just brush over and instantly think that there's a simple political answer to ignore the wishes of Sandbach. It's a place that's emotive, and it's a place that needs to remain. It's a place that needs continuation, a connection with the past, the present and the future, with people's history, with people's lives. What Cheshire East Council want you to do, and specifically what Sam Corcoran, Stephen Albert Martin, actually wants you to do, is to forget about this place. Forget that we have a magnificent facility, a historic facility, a well-used, a well-loved, something that's in the heart of everyone around here. He wants us to forget that we have this facility. He wants you to travel 30 minutes to Crewe, 30 minutes to Macclesfield. It's an hour and a half on public transport each way. Now you imagine the cortèges coming from Sandbach and travelling all the way to Macclesfield, all the way to Crewe. The congestion, the inconvenience, the length of time. People want closure when they attend a funeral and a memorial. Travelling for an hour and a half in heavy traffic is not the sort of thing that even comes close to being sensitive to people's feelings. This is something that has not been addressed in any of the arguments so far. So what we have here is the perfect extension ground. This is designated by the Land Registry Office since 1934 and has not changed as of today's date on that land registry as cemetery land. This is the land that was designated for the extension. There, yes, there's some trees been planted very recently, there's some rusty goalposts, but this has always been cemetery land. There are no records of it ever becoming a recreation ground. There are no records of it ever being made into a playground. It is still cemetery land. And that's an important issue just to hang on there and think about for a moment. So the conclusion is there's one of two things have happened. The first conclusion is that perhaps that policy document that was consulted on, that was drafted, that was discussed and debated late 2018 into early 2019 never got signed off by the Cabinet. Never happened. Still sitting there waiting Cabinet and Council approval. If that happened, there's no issue with extending the cemetery, keeping it open and extending it into the land that is still registered as cemetery land. Option 2, however, if that document was passed, then within that document, item 6.7.2 actually specifies that the decision over the cemetery and its expansion and its retention would be devolved to the local Sandbach Town Council for their decision. Sandbach Town Council have already wholeheartedly given their support to the extension and continuation of this cemetery. The only conclusion you can draw on either premise, whether the document was passed or whether the document wasn't passed, is that this cemetery must, should and will remain open, must, should and will be extended, whichever option you like to choose. We'll pass it back to Cheshire East now for a definitive answer.